There is one bit of polling data about the elections, one blue shoot, as it were, that is keeping Democrats awake at night, literally. Tonight, at least, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's the polling data that shows pretty consistently that the country says it prefers Democrats to Republicans right now. Echoing the Washington Post ABC poll that we talked about on last night's show, the new NBC Wall Street Journal poll asks, if you had the choice in your congressional district, which of course you do, would you be more likely to vote for a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate? Registered voters in the new NBC Wall Street Journal poll prefer a Democrat over a Republican when given that generic choice. Registered voters by 4 points choose the Democrat in their district over the Republican. It's good news for Democrats, right? But if this is how registered voters feel about Democrats versus Republicans right now, why then are Republicans expected to pick up so many seats tomorrow? That's because the poll results I just gave you are for registered voters. Registered voters, people who could conceivably vote if they wanted to, because they're registered to vote, regardless of whether or not they're actually planning to vote. If you look instead, not just at registered voters, at people who could conceivably vote if they wanted to, but if you look instead at people who say they are likely to vote, those people give the opposite response. Those people likely to vote preferred the Republican candidate over the Democrat, 44 to 43%. So the people who could conceivably vote, but might not, they don't feel like it, prefer Democrats. Broadly speaking, registered voters looking at their home districts choose the Democrat. Republicans are slated to win so many seats tomorrow, not because they've won over the country broadly, but because they are counting on they are counting on the people who prefer Democrats, the larger number of people, to not bother to vote. They're counting on the can't be bothered. What's the Democratic strategy for getting the people that prefer them to prove the Republicans wrong and actually vote? Let's ask Mike Lux. Mike Lux is a Democratic political strategist. He's co-founder and CEO of the consulting firm Progressive Strategies. Mike, very good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on, Rachel.
So in the last 24 hours of the campaign, the Democrats' mission is essentially turnout. What does that mean that Democratic campaigns are actually doing in this last 24 hours? How do they try to turn out the vote?
Well, tonight they're calling and calling and calling. People all over the country actually calling into targeted swing districts. The DNC has a program for that. The party committee, the other party committees, MoveOn.org, all kinds of organizations are doing that. Tomorrow, you're going to be having people out at 5 o'clock in the morning, putting door hangers on doors, reminding people to get out and vote. You're going to be having, in the good states where there's real operations, you'll have people doing 4 or 5 rounds of door knocking, giving rides to the polls, doing more calling and more calling. It'll be a very intensive effort.
Mike, where do you see the Democratic Party and its get-out-the-vote apparatus as strongest right now?
I think it's probably strongest in a state like Ohio. Ohio, they've got a great party operation. Iowa, they've got a great party operation. I think out in California, they've got both a great party operation, a lot of outside organizations. I think, you know, district by district, state by state, it's mixed, but there are a lot of places that have very good operations. And I do think that the party committees, Organizing for America at the DNC, the DCCC, DSCC, all have good operations as well. And I also think the outside groups like MoveOn.org and Democrats for America, have some of the best organizing going on out there.
Historically, as I understand it, voter turnout in midterms tends to turn out more older voters and less younger voters than presidential elections do. I know Democrats counted very heavily on younger people's votes, especially in 2008. Are there specific and different means of trying to turn out younger voters?
There are, and again, it's happening both at the party level, but also outside organizations like Rock the Vote, like the Bus Project, like a lot of different youth organizing operations are out there, and a lot of that is peer-to-peer. I mean, people going door-to-door in their college dormitoriums, people handing out flyers and calling their friends at community colleges, people doing Facebook and Twitter and all of the social networking kinds of things. The youth tend to get out and vote when their friends urge them to do it.
Mike, you are as experienced a Democratic operative as I know in the world, just because I don't know very many Washington insiders. And you are the most insidery Democratic guy I know who's not an elected official. Given your long experience as a progressive who has worked in the party, who has been involved in a million different campaigns, who has White House experience, what are your expectations for tomorrow? What do you think happens?
Well, I do think that the Democratic Party, off the momentum of 2008 and 2006, still does have a good get-out-the-vote operation. And I think we're going to see higher numbers of Democrats turning out, higher numbers of young voters, higher numbers of Hispanic voters, higher numbers of African-American voters. I'm worried about women voters. I think that working-class women, unmarried women, which have been a big part of the party's margin in the past, have not been as motivated this time. Younger voters are always harder to get out in the midterms. But I think you'll see a pretty good operation. And I'll tell you something, a lot of it is person to person. Rachel, if every one of the people viewing your show tonight were to call everybody they knew and all of the people that they'd talked to over the years, all of their email lists, all of their Facebook friends, even that would make a difference. You really have to get out and talk to your friends and get them encouraged to go vote. So it's not just the parties or it's not just the groups like Move On. It's really person to person.
Mike Lux, co-founder and CEO of the consulting firm Progressive Strategies. Mike, again, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Rachel.